The restaurant's chandelier flickered, casting a warm glow over the crisp white tablecloths. But Ethan Caldwell's heart felt like it was encased in frost. At 42, the CEO of a thriving Vancouver tech empire, he was a man who had everything except someone to share it with. His days were a blur of boardrooms and late-night emails, his sprawling penthouse echoing with silence. Tonight, he sat at a corner table in one of the city's finest establishments, not for himself, but for a favor. His best friend, Mark, had begged him to fill in for a blind date Mark couldn't make due to a last-minute work crisis. Ethan, who hadn't been on a date in years, agreed reluctantly, expecting little more than polite small talk and a quick exit. But then she walked in, and everything changed. Her name was Lila. She wasn't the poised, polished professional Ethan had been told about. Her auburn hair was slightly tangled from the autumn wind outside, and her dress, a simple, slightly faded blue one, looked like it had been chosen with care but limited means. She hesitated at the door, clutching a worn leather bag, her eyes scanning the room with a nervous flicker. When their eyes met, Ethan felt a jolt, like a dormant part of his soul stirred awake. Lila wasn't the date he was supposed to meet. A mix-up had brought her here instead, a mistake by the hostess who'd confused reservations. But as she approached, apologizing profusely, Ethan waved off the error, his voice trembling as he asked her to stay. There was something in her eyes, kindness, resilience, a quiet strength that mirrored the ache he'd buried for years. Lila was 35, a single mother working 2 jobs to support her son, Noah, in a cramped East Vancouver apartment. She'd agreed to the blind date on a whim, egged on by a coworker who thought she deserved a night out. Her life was soft-spoken but raw as she shared snippets of her story, mornings rushing to her diner shift, evenings tutoring Noah through math, and nights wondering if she'd ever catch a break. Ethan, used to guarded conversations with people who saw only his title, found himself disarmed. Lila didn't know he was a CEO. To her, he was just a man with kind eyes who listened. They laughed over cooling plates of pasta, trading stories of childhood dreams, his of building something lasting, hers of giving Noah a life free of struggle. For the first time in years, Ethan felt seen, not for his success but for his heart. But the night wasn't without its shadows. As they lingered over dessert, Lila's phone buzzed. Her mother, watching Noah, needed her back. The boy was running a fever. Her face tightened with worry, and she apologized again, her voice cracking as she admitted she couldn't afford a cab home. Ethan's instinct was to fix it. He could have called his driver or paid for anything she needed, but something stopped him. Instead, he offered to walk her to the bus stop, and under the drizzle of a chilly Vancouver night, they shared an umbrella, their shoulders brushing. At the stop, Lila thanked him, her eyes glistening with gratitude and something deeper. Ethan didn't dare name. He couldn't stop thinking about her after she boarded the bus. The next day, Ethan's first challenge emerged, finding her again. He had no last name, only her first in the diner where she worked. His corporate world demanded his attention, a merger deal teetered, his phone buzzing relentlessly, but his heart pulled elsewhere. He went to the diner, a modest spot with checkered floors and coffee-stained menus. Lila was there, her apron smudged, balancing trays with weary grace. When she saw him, her face lit up, but doubt clouded her eyes. She assumed he was out of her league, a fleeting kindness she couldn't hold on to. Ethan, nervous as a teenager, asked her out properly, but his wealth slipped through an offhand mention of his downtown office, the watch on his wrist glinting under the diner's lights. Lila's smile faltered. She'd heard of men like him, promising the world only to leave when reality hit. The gap between their worlds became their second challenge. Lila invited Ethan to her apartment for dinner, wanting to keep things real. Her home was small, cluttered with Noah's toys and second-hand furniture, but warm with love. Noah, a shy 7-year-old, took to Ethan instantly, asking him to fix a broken toy robot. Ethan, who'd never held a screwdriver outside a metaphor, fumbled but tried, earning Noah's grin. Yet Lila grew quiet, watching Ethan in her space. After Noah went to bed, she confessed her fear. She couldn't risk Noah's heart, or hers, on someone whose life felt like a different planet. Ethan, stung but determined, shared his own truth. His wealth hadn't shielded him from loneliness, from nights staring at the city skyline feeling hollow. He didn't want a polished life anymore. He wanted one that felt real, like hers. Their bond deepened, but the final hurdle loomed. Ethan's board pressured him to maintain a certain image, whispering that a relationship with a diner waitress could tarnish his reputation. At a gala, where Ethan brought Lila as his date, the whispers grew louder. Lila, in a borrowed dress, felt every stare, every subtle slight. When a colleague made a snide remark about her fitting in, she fled to the balcony, tears burning. Ethan followed, his heart breaking at her pain. He realized he'd been naive, thinking love alone could bridge their worlds. He took her hand and promised to fight for her, not just in private but publicly. The next day, he pinned an open letter on his company's site, sharing their story, not as a CEO and a waitress, but as two people who found home in each other. The letter went viral, sparking debates across Canada about class, love, and courage. Months later, Ethan and Lila stood in Stanley Park, Noah between them, tossing pebbles into the water. Ethan had stepped back from some corporate duties, prioritizing time with them. Lila, with Ethan's encouragement, had started night classes, dreaming of a social work degree. Their challenges hadn't vanished, money, time, and judgment still lingered, but they faced them together. Ethan, once a lonely man in a glass tower, now knew love's messy, beautiful truth. Lila, who'd feared she'd never be enough, found strength in being loved for who she was. As the sun set over the Pacific, Ethan whispered to Lila, "You're my home." She smiled, her heart full, knowing they'd built something unbreakable. And to you, watching this story unfold, know this: love doesn't care about bank accounts or job titles. It finds you when you're brave enough to see someone's heart. In a world that divides us, choose connection. Choose love. Because, like Ethan and Lila, you might just find your home in someone unexpected.